Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's BDF44 coming at you with another video. So, just doing a little thinking about, Kyrie Irving's situation because I just got through reading as I check my fantasy basketball stuff, as I'm sure you guys have heard a million times me tell you I'm a fantasy basketball fan. Checking, trying to see what his status is because someone dropped him, and I wanted to, of course, put myself in a position to pick him up. But then, reading what was being said, I can understand why people are dropping him. He's standing firm in what he's standing on, which is that he's going to, go up against New York in regards to this mandate, keeping people from being able to work, if they haven't been vaccinated. So until that mandate is changed, um, the Brooklyn Nets, of course, are going to comply with all, statewide mandates and things of that nature, local mandates and all that. They're going to comply with the law. So it's one of those situations where it's kind of out of everyone's hands, really. As I believe it was Steve Nash that pointed this out. He said that this is not necessarily something about between the Brooklyn Nets and Kyrie Irving, but more so about Kyrie and the state of New York or the city or what have you. So, um, this is a situation where I'm starting to realize something. Kyrie does take long periods of time away from basketball. He has a very, very, very extensive off the court existence that he enjoys and that he guards very, very, very privately. So I'd imagine he's somewhere doing what it is he wants to do as well. And as I look at this mandate, I ask myself, or I ask you guys, is anyone over there urgently trying to communicate with the state on behalf of everyone over there, or is Kyrie just kind of not fighting for his career and that of I guess what I'm saying is he planning on just sitting out, or is he trying to do what he can to change this law? And see, that's the question I have at this point. It's like, all right, do you really want to come back? I guess my mind started racing, and I started thinking about how he loves not talking to the media. And he has made his reasons very clear to us all that he feels that they very often twist his words, and of course have these narratives and things of that nature that we've talked about a lot on this channel. So in my mind, I'm thinking maybe he equates his art form basketball, excuse me, his art form basketball as something that is no longer fun to him because of the presence of the media. That's where my mind is kind of just racing. Is it like one of those situations where, like, yeah, I love doing what it is I love to do until you guys not make it fun anymore. Until you guys, not make it fun anymore. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Until it becomes a situation where the fun is being sucked out of it because of everything that comes with it. Um, when it becomes in a professional situation, or when it becomes something that is just simply uh, pressurized and ridiculed and all of that. So I've heard many artists say in the past, and I look at Kyrie as an artist, and most of these athletes I see as artists. They say in the past that a lot of times they don't like blending professionalism with what it is that they do artistically because of that type of thing. So is basketball still fun for Kyrie? Does he equate basketball with the pressures and the media and everything else that maybe isn't so fun about this process? Being a professional isn't for everyone. Being aligning themselves with contracts and adhering to those contracts and different things that need to be done that kind of keep people structured in life. Not everybody's wired to do those things. As time progresses throughout that contract, they're not always able to meet the expectations as it pertains to their effort, their focus, and things of that nature. And I think a lot of times contracts don't leave much room for that in business and in sports and things of that nature. So when you find these type of players who just want to occasionally have different moments in time in their lives where they just want to do something else, um, it really does become a situation where you're punishing them for not living up to the stipulations in the contract, as opposed to being fluent within that contract to kind of mold itself around the different ways of the person. And I think that's where we're headed, is like since so much data is being collected in regards to different organizations and different you know media sites and all different types of people are trying to get data so they can personalize things. Everything online is personalized. I think when we start thinking about how to have solutions in regards to these situations, they too must be personalized. You have to literally dig into who the specifics of the person is you're dealing with so that you don't find yourself looking like the big bad wolf trying to force people to do things that otherwise with their time they would not be able to do, but didn't necessarily find themselves being able to foresee those changes being there. Because I think that's what we're running into is contracts right now are just cut and dry. You do what we say because we pay you. And while that does make all the sense in the world, what we're finding is people want more abilities to maneuver. Things change. Yes, in 2020, I know exactly what I want 4 years down the road, but as certain events and certain things happen, now somewhere throughout that contract, I'm now having different ideas about what it is I want. Now that in theory means I'm breaking the contract. That in theory means that I'm being the bad guy. But in being the bad guy, now the other side is now forced to be in a position to enforce some type of rule or some type of punishment, and puts them in a position that to me seems like in 2021 we should be trying to figure out a way to not have to be in that position. So as my mind races, I just look at Kyrie Irving as a case study for more fluent movement within these contracts, and how in a perfect world we'll find some system that allows people to be this way and it not be such a bad thing or a big deal. A situation where it's already worked in the numbers that this person may take this amount of time off, and if they do, we have this in place, something in the provision with the NBA to where cap relief is then handed to that team in some kind of way to where they can kind of make up for it temporarily. I don't know how to fix that, honestly, but that's what needs to be figured out, in my opinion, because then you just have these Ben Simmons, Kyrie Irving situations that just leave everybody stressed out. Looking at it from afar, I'd imagine everybody involved is stressed out. And we are trying to figure out ways to remove stress from our lives. I think that should be the goal going forward. We know how much stress can be a danger to people, and how much it can be something that we do so much in our lives to try to, get away from, try to medicate ourselves or what have you, to distract ourselves from those things. And I think if we can try to find some type of way to work in life, literally work without having those stresses ever even come into our process. Better ways of compromise, better ways of structuring things so that we have, as again, foresight, maybe, not necessarily being present, but at least we can start having more room for things to go wrong or go left or change, etc. Anyway, that's where my head is going. And I think that, as far as Kyrie's concerned, if you don't want to fight for your career, I don't blame you. If you hate what comes with basketball these days, or you feel like you've gotten enough out of it and want to put your focus elsewhere, there's nothing wrong with that. I think the world will be mad at you for that, but I don't think that the average individual who would meet you on the street, if you explained it to them, I don't think they'd be mad at you for that. You got to follow what you love. You got to stand for what you believe. If it turns out you're standing on the wrong thing later on, that's something everyone has to cope with at some point. If that turns out to be the case, you got to do it on your own merit. No different, in my opinion, than quitting smoking or quitting drugs or whatever it is that you feel you need to quit. You got to do it for yourself, or otherwise the motivation isn't truly there. So that's my opinion. I think he's driven by something he thinks he can live with. He thinks he's doing the right thing, and I think there'll be a lot of people who agree. I see them; they agree. So at this point, can't make everybody happy, but as I've said a million times, what he can do is just somehow relieve the Nets of the burden of his missing cap space. And I think the only way to effectively really do that is to get back on the court. But, it's just not really, that's not possible at this time. So what I would say is be active, and maybe this may be too much for him to do. Maybe that's not what he wants to do, but I think what would benefit the image that he's on and the movement that he's on now is to get a part of whatever organization is trying to change this mandate or start his own movement of some sort to try to change this mandate, uh, or try to find some wiggle room for people like himself to work. And that's ultimately what he's fighting for. Don't just roll over and just sit. I don't think that's the move for Kyrie Irving. You know, be active. Use the uh, celebrity you have to be active in what it is that you're after having happen. Um, and I think that'll go a long way in helping him in the NBA maintain his value. Because what people are going to start saying next is that he doesn't want to play, as I started this video saying. So I don't think that's the case. That's not what he said in them 25 minutes. If anything, he said, "You think I really want to lose this money? You think I really want to give up the game I love?" I don't believe that. Don't believe that at all. I think what he wants to do is just kind of see these people get back to work without having to take the shot. That's what I think he wants to see. So, and himself get back to work as well. Um, so be a part of whatever it takes to get that done, or find a middle ground. Seek a middle ground. I think ultimately, um, it is a divisive topic. So maybe rather than taking one side, you stand somewhere where people who have both um, acceptance of people who haven't vaccinated and the knowledge to help spread the understanding of why it's important to get vaccine. Get with those individuals who happen to be not so divisive and find a solution that then can communicate with New York to try to help you get yourself back into the NBA. As my mind goes through different solutions, that one sounds like the better one of the two that I came up with, because at the end of the day, you don't want to be someone who looks extreme in a situation where otherwise you want to get back on the court and play basketball. Um, you don't want to take the Wiggins route necessarily, because Wiggins regretted what he did. He did. He's not happy about his decision. He just did it because he needs to play ball. So if that's not the stance you're taking, I wouldn't take just the sideline stance at all. I would get with some people who have some real information and some real sway, and try to get yourself back on the court, bro. Because what I'm watching with the Brooklyn Nets is they're just moving on without you. And while that's not really a thing, it can be when you do come back. That's the thing. Yeah, it's no problem with them being able to win without Kyrie Irving. I think the problem becomes when Kyrie does take that shot, how do they work him into the equation, and what does that do to the lineup, and does that then hurt the team? It's like you don't want this to drag out too long, or you just should probably just sit out the season entirely, And this is a prime year. As for the body, it's great to not play, I think, but for the career that you're trying to be on, the trajectory you're trying to be on, it's probably an important year. So I don't know, especially since it's a championship caliber team you're on. So I don't know, man. I don't know, but you got to do what feels right at the end of the day. I know that much. So my name is BDF44. I'm always up here talking about somebody else's life. I heard Kwame Brown when he said that we gotta, give credence to the fact that we're on the sidelines and that there are certain things that we never will know. And as I grow, especially in this space where I talk about things I do not do, I give much credence to that. And I think it's important that that be attached to the lane that I'm in as well. How I intend to be much more humble than maybe would have come naturally to me in the past, just because I have watched this game. I have not played this game. And as I've watched it, I've appreciated what I've seen. I've learned to appreciate it, from afar. And so it's so important that people in my position give credence to that, especially if we want to be taken seriously. If we actually want to be in these conversations with these people who really play this game. It means a lot to a lot of people to kind of be a part of those conversations. Listening to athletes, and they say, certain conversations are just not for people who haven't won, haven't done certain things. I understand that as much as I can, you know what I mean? And so as somebody watching as a fan who happens to have what I would say is a unique way of looking at the game and a unique way of experiencing the game. Um, I just say that I try to stay in my lane as best I can while speaking my mind. You know what I mean? I reserve the right to speak what I speak, but I also understand that there are some things that they're not going to be available for me to know. Some things that just, from my perspective, could not be understood no matter how smart I believe myself to be. So, as we continue to move as talking heads and as we continue to, uh, do what it is and benefit from what it is that we're seeing and studying, putting in long hours in a lot of cases and doing the due diligence to get as good as we can at what it is that we do. I think it's very important that in demanding the respect that we want for ourselves, that we too give respect to those who do what it is that we don't. And in a lot of cases, cannot. So that's just something I also wanted to say in this video. All right, that's what I got, man. So my name is BDF44. I'm gonna get back to what it is that I also love to do, which is make musical playlists. I think I'm gonna try to jump into something like that right now. Go ahead and follow me on Apple Music BDF, and that's what I got, man. Peace.